Sadler's Creek. It's Friday afternoon live here at sunny Sadler's Creek, rainy Sadler's Creek. This afternoon we're going to go through a few things on how to taste wine. We have a lot of people that come to the cellar door or come to dinners or functions with us, and they want to know the little things, I guess the things that we take for granted, or I, Brett, the winemaker here at Sadler's, take for granted on how we taste our wine. Or how we evaluate it when it comes to a wine show or something like that. So there's a couple of small things that we're going to have a look at this afternoon. Most importantly, make sure you have a wine glass in your hand. Work, Deb. Yeah, have a wine glass in your hand. Camera operator can drink at the same time. Spot on. So when it comes to tasting or evaluating wine, there's a couple of key things that we as winemakers look for. They all come down to the senses, or your most important things like sight, smell and taste. But there's a couple of things that we do with our glassware to accentuate that, or I guess make it better. And first and foremost is the type of glassware that we use. So we here at the cellar door, we used to use the quite famous wine glass called the XL5. Really sturdy, good quality wine glass for everyday drinking. Probably one of the best things about this glass is you can just stick it in the dishwasher, so that's really quite handy. These were up until recently used for pretty much every wine show around the world. Every wine show from your local, Bob's Backyard wine show all the way through to Sydney International or Hong Kong International Wine Show. This very much is or was the standard of wine glass. So you'll see a lot of these floating around the valley. But of course, I guess you can't fit too much in it, so we have changed a little bit. And in the cellar door, we now use more the traditional Bordeaux style wine glass, which has got a really lovely big bowl. So you can, of course, see your wine better, smell your wine better, and I guess you can enjoy your wine better as well. So glassware comes in many different forms, big, little. You can go all the way crazy and buy varietal specific wine glasses. Yes, it's a thing. You can buy Semillon wine glass, a Burgundy wine glass, so Pinot Noir, or you can buy a Sangiovese wine glass. Probably have to build a whole nother kitchen and pantry to store all that glassware in, but you don't need it. A standard, good quality, sturdy wine glass like we've got in front of me here will do the job. Alright, we've got the wine glass, we've poured yourself a glass or three. Now let's go through how we taste or how we evaluate wine. So the 5 steps to start with are sight. So how does the wine look? Does it look appropriate for its variety? Does it look appropriate for its age or its style? So I've got a really important prop, white piece of paper. Might seem crazy, but it's pretty simplistic. What we're looking for to start with is the wine the right colour? So this wine I have in front of me here is 2018 Hunter Valley Semillon, so it's not very old. And this should have little colour, or if the wine was even younger, say a 2020 Semillon, should have next to no colour, so it may actually look totally opaque. As the wine ages, it'll go from opaque all the way through to this light lemon, yellowy colour, and then as the wine gets older and becomes, say, 5, 10, 15, 20 years old, in white wines it will get a lot of colour and will become dark yellow and into golden as the wine develops. So for this wine from 2018, bang on, real light lemon, sort of limey sort of colour, perfect. That's exactly what we want.
Brett,
Yes,
Michael Reynolds said that's in our glass too, by the way. He's
Michael
enjoying
Reynolds,
that.
This is in your glass?
Yep.
You, my friend, are a legend. Happy Friday afternoon, Michael. So then we look at other varieties or other styles of wines when it comes to sight. One thing I did mention is the wine should also be clear. It should be attractive to look at. So when we're looking at wines like Semillon, for example, you don't want this wine to be cloudy. You don't want solids floating around in it. I guess if you want to be a bit crazy like the Japanese, you might put gold leaf in it or glitter or something like that, but we don't do that. So for us, we want our wine, in this instance, to be really light and bright.
Brett, everyone's telling me I'm sideways at the moment. So,
better?
yeah, I don't know. Again, this is all new to me. So, is that better, guys?
Are we up right now?
Are we good?
Let's say we're good. It's been a hard week. You just thought I was laying down the job, didn't you? Alright. Colour, back to colour. Rosé. Rosé is a really, I guess, topical variety when it comes to colour. Because if you go to, I guess, southern France, you get a lot of rosés that are really light, salmony, pinky colour. Some of them they look a bit orange, to be honest. That can be good if the wine's good. If your wine looks great, doesn't taste great, then the colour means nothing. For us, our rosé here at Saddlers Creek is based on Shiraz, Cabernet and Merlot. So we tend to get this really bright strawberry sort of character.
Sorry, Brett, can I
You need some?
taste that one?
Yeah, sure. Just tell me when to stop. You sure?
Yep.
That's enough?
Yep.
Okay.
So swirling.
Swirling. You haven't finished with colour. Red wines. Lighter styles of reds, Pinot, Hunter Valley Shiraz. Young wines, they should show this real bright strawberry, red, raspberry character. Varieties like Cabernet that we have on the my far left, your far right, tend to be more dark black currant and plummy in character. But that will come down to winemaking style, variety and age, of course. So if we look at obviously a quite different two varieties, we've got Semillon and Cabernet here, and you can see one's really light and bright and one's quite deep, dark and red, I guess. Alright, swirling. There's an art to swirling, but before we get to swirling, there's how you hold a wine glass. How do you hold a wine glass, Deb? I'll do it for her. No?
Thank you.
Alright, we should be holding our wine glass by the stem or by the base. If you've got a tumbler or a stemless wine glass, if you're trendy like that, you tend to be holding the wine by the bowl or the goblet. The problem with this is you're putting your body heat into the wine. Now that's great if the wine's too cold, but if you've already got the wine at the temperature you want, then you're just going to heat that up. So you should be holding the glass by the stem or by the base.
Sorry.
Good one, Jeff. Alright, now, I'll show you two ways to swirl the glass. One's like this, one's like this. 1, 2. Do we notice the subtle difference? Yeah, the Queen can do this. Everyone else should put their little pinky finger away.
Why?
Why? We don't need to use those terms around here. There's little kids present. Alright, so why do we swirl our wine glass? Well, to make us look fancy pants? No, not really. What we want to do is, what we're endeavouring to do is get the aroma of the wine from the bottom of the glass all the way to our nose. Now, if we think about how far down in that glass that wine is, if I don't agitate it and I just put the wine up here or to my nose, there's a big gap. So what we actually want to do is move the aroma of the wine up into our nasal cavity and off to our olfactory glands. Olfactory glands, that's a fancy pants term for nose sensors, basically. And they're all the way up here. And you actually got some...
Did you touch your face?
My sinuses. Up the back here. So what we're trying to do is to get these aromas up here and up here. So, if you want to, you can play a little bit of a game at home. Get 3 glasses, or 1, and before you smell the wine, before you swirl the wine, pick it up and have a bit of a sip. And then give it a bit of a swirl and have another sip. And then, probably do this with white wine, or if you have white carpet, not with red wine, maybe over the sink. You just get your hand and cup it over here. Now, this is totally exaggerating it. What we want to show you here is, by introducing a lot of air, you'll push the aroma of the wine up the top of the glass, and it'll go straight up your nose, and you'll really get to smell the delicate aromas of the wine.
It only goes up my nose when you say something funny. I'm just saying.
If you laugh, it might go up there too. All right, so we've got sight, then we've got swirling, so that we can smell it. That's the key here. So in varieties like Semillon, we want to see real fresh lemons, limes, sort of lemon drops, gooseberries, those sorts of characters is what we're getting out of here. Rosé, strawberries, rose petals, fresh fruit, those sorts of things. And into red wines, you should be expecting, well, obviously red spectrum fruits, and through to things like spice and nutty characters and cedary characters from the timber. What's next? I suppose we want to taste it.
Yeah.
We've gone all that effort, we haven't drunk anything yet.
Best bit.
All right, so when it comes to sipping or tasting the wine...
Slurping or sipping?
Slurping, yeah, you can slurp. Certainly on a Friday afternoon you might need to slurp. It's not a race at the end of the day, and what you want to do is savour the taste of the wine and evaluate for what it is. So when it comes to taste, we generally are looking for obviously things like sweetness, bitterness, acidity, things like that. Look, in a nutshell, we want an attractive wine and we want to be able to taste that the best possible way. So just take a little bit of a sip.
I'm sipping, Brett.
That's a glug, Deb. What you may have noticed, if you paid attention, is I didn't just swallow the wine straight away. I kept the wine in my mouth and I gave it a bit of a swirl around. But also what I did is you may have missed it, but I sucked air over the wine, over my tongue, or what we call the palate, and pushed that air back up here. So remember I said before you've got olfactory glands up the back of your nasal cavity?
Did you say old factory glands?
Olfactory, no, that's down the road. I took that there earlier. Olfactory. Smell factory, smell glands, or whatever I called it before.
Got it.
All right, so what we want is for that aroma to go back up here, because they don't do a lot normally, because we don't send a lot of flavour up there or a lot of aromas up there. We normally just sort of eat something and drink something and swallow it and that's be done. So if you draw a bit of air up there, you'll send it to those olfactory glands and you'll be able to pick up those more delicate flavours. So when you hear people like me say, oh, I can smell delicate finger limes, and you're standing on the other side of the cellar door thinking, the hell is he on about? Possibly it's the old factories up here, olfactory glands, doing that for us. So. Alright, so taste, we tend to like bright, fresh wines like Semillon. They're really forward palate tasting wines, so they're fresh lemons and limes, lots of acidity. And then we look at red wines, you tend to get more mid palate and back palate weight. So when we have wines that have been in timber or on skins for a long time, you tend to get that more intense mid palate and rear palate character. Savour. That's the last S, right? Savouring,
Yeah,
not selling. That comes after.
that's a 6.
That's the 6th one, right? Got it. Savouring, think about the wine. Think about what you've tasted. Don't overthink it though. Some people get really too into it, I guess. They want to draw too much from the wine, especially if they're trying to write a tasting note. They think that it has to go for 3 or 4 paragraphs. At the end of the day, you'll pick up some really key flavours, so things like lemons, limes, and then you'll think of things like acidity and freshness. That's exactly the characters that you'll get from a variety like Semillon. For a variety like Cabernet, for example, we've got plums and black currants and chocolate and mocha and those sorts of things. You don't need to complicate it any more than that, because at the end of the day, you just want to drink it. You just want to savour it.
I like it. I like it a lot, Brett. Thank you for Friday night drinks.
That's all right.
Does anyone have any questions?
Got your glasses there.
Now I have. Okay, Murray Wood said his absolute favourite at the moment is the 2005. Cheers.
2005.
Cabernet.
Pretty good
Bluegrass Cabernet.
Got it. Pretty good gear.
That's his
So in
favourite.
that wine, you'll see less primary fruit characters, so you won't see the really freshly cut or picked blueberries and black currants. You'll start to see more spice and savouriness and I guess the nuttiness of the wine coming through.
And when you say primary fruit versus secondary fruit, what do you mean?
Alright, so primary fruit, think freshly picked, freshly harvested. Secondary fruit, think time and effort has gone into developing that flavour. So be that maturing in a wine bottle or sitting in a wine barrel or something like that. Something else has acted on that fruit or that flavour profile to change it from what it was as a fresh primary fruit. Does that make sense?
Yep. Catherine wants to know what's for dinner.
Now tell her she can work that out.
Okay. The next thing is temperature of wine. How does that affect the taste?
Oh yeah, good question. Temperature is really important. So one thing we do really poorly in Australia, especially with white wines, is we drink them way too cold. Now when you go to the pub, think about the future or the past. When you went to the pub in the past.
The future. Let's focus on
in the future
that.
when you will go to a pub in the future. You go to the bar and they have, you know, the beer taps set up, and there's commercial beer with a little temperature gauge, and it says this commercial beer is served at -3 degrees, right? The reason it's served so cold is it doesn't have any flavour to start with. So you've got a very small baseline to work with.
Okay. Do reds change colour over time?
Yes. Going back to the wine temperature, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
White wines you should drink at about 8 to 10 degrees C. So remember,
All white wine?
Pretty much.
What do you mean?
Except for maybe sparkling wine, which you need to keep a bit cooler.
Thank
but
you.
8 to 10 degrees is perfect.
But I
And
like my
remember your
Semillon
household
really
fridge.
cold.
Well, you can open it when it's cold. That's fine. I'll let you off. But just leave it on the bench and let it warm up a little bit.
Okay.
And red wine's about 14 degrees C.
Are all the red wines the same temperature?
Good question. It's summertime. It's a bit hard to keep wines really cool, unless, of course, you've got the air conditioner cranked up. But again, you want them between sort of 14 and 16 degrees C.
Colin wants to know, is it true drinking plenty of Settlers wines will sanitise our mouth and protect us from you know what?
I was talking to Dr. Carl about this the other day. He said as long as you try it many times and write down the results, it is an experiment and it's legitimate, then we'll know the result.
Okay. What about the Cabernet? Does that change colour over time?
It will. Like all red wines or all wines in general, they will change colour over time.
And how does the colour change?
So you'll go from very bright, vibrant, fresh-looking colours, so bright purples and things like that. Eventually, right at the end of its life, if you left the wine, I guess, for too long, it will go brown. But in between there, you'll go all the way from light or dark purples through to a brick red character, and eventually all the way to the brown spectrum. You've got to catch it in the good window.
Murray thinks I'm a novice if I drink Semillon cold. That's because I drink Chardonnay.
Murray's a smart man.
He is a smart man. So, what's your favourite wine at the moment, Brett? What are you drinking?
What's my favourite wine right now?
Yeah.
Well, that one was in my glass.
And what's that?
Look, I love Semillon. I drink a truckload of it. I was born and bred in the Hunter Valley. This is a style of wine that I go to and drink a lot of. Red wines, though, I have a really soft spot for medium-bodied reds. So you might notice that our Winemaker's Craft Pinot Shiraz is here on the bench, conveniently been opened, conveniently been sitting getting a bit of air, so that glass might disappear soon.
And what's good about the Pinot Shiraz?
Everything.
Tell us about it.
So this style of wine is based on a really old style.
Okay, let's talk about the 5 steps of the Pinot Shiraz.
Okay, so the colour, the side of this wine, lighter coloured red or medium bodied red. So you're going to have more reddy colours rather than purples. The aroma of the wine will be things like cherries and strawberries, but being Pinot and Shiraz, you'll get bright red strawberries and you'll also get a bit of spice. So the spices that we get is from a chemical called rutadone.
Can you show us that glass?
I can show you that glass. So Pinot Shiraz is a medium-bodied style of wine. It's elegant, fruit-driven, but slightly spicy as well. Probably not a long-term cellaring wine. It's something you could keep for about 5 years. Food-wise, put it with something gamey or pizza. Everyone loves a pizza, especially on a Friday night.
So duck pizza?
Duck pizza, now you're thinking.
And when you sip that, what does that taste like?
Like yum. So, bright strawberries, raspberries, not really blackcurrant or plum, it's not in that spectrum. It's got a bit of spiciness and a little bit of warmth. It's made from 2 different regions, so you've got cool climate Pinot that gives you the subtle prettiness in the wine, and then it's made from Hunter Valley Shiraz, which gives a little bit of muscle and a bit of spice. So nice and versatile. I like it.
So how did the Winemaker's Craft come about?
How did this wine come about? Originally the style was started by a guy called Maurice O'Shea back in the 20s up the road in Mount Pleasant. For us, we were fortunate enough to have a small parcel of Tumbarumba Pinot left and also a small parcel of Hunter Valley Shiraz. And look, let's be honest, I had these two parcels on the bench in the lab and I was tasting them as separate wines. And I thought, hey, let's give this a whirl, and poured the two glasses together, and next thing you know, it's in a bottle, ready for you guys to try.
We love it. I love that wine.
It's good, eh?
Well,
Anything else?
thank you so much, Brett, for your time today, and happy Friday to everyone.
Here's cheers to Friday.